Hello, this is Ankit with Robbie Stremski with
RJ Holmes.
and EXP Realty.
And today we're excited to bring you guys some very interesting facts. We just had a recent release from CREA, which is the Canadian Real Estate Association, of their forecast, their predictions basically, for what the real estate market's going to do in Canada for 2025.
So long video alert, we're going to be discussing about so many things. Just to give everybody, a rundown and why is this video so important. CREA gave us so many statistics as a forecast for 2025, and we're going to break down the majority of it, and we're going to try to put it all together and see what's going to happen in 2025. So if you're interested in real estate in any level, buying, selling, investing, or just want to know what's happening in this market and you want to place your bets in the future, this video is going to be an essential part of your research.
Yeah, and the reason we wanted to put this video together for the audience here is just because there is so much information that was shared with us, and we just felt that it was very important for everybody out there to also know about this particular predictions. As we know, the real estate market is very complex, very dynamic, with lots of moving parts. And in this case, we're going to be covering not just what their predictions are for the market activity, as in how much the market's going to move. We're going to be covering pricing across Canada versus Alberta versus the Edmonton market. We're going to be covering a little bit about the types of homes that are being built, the construction. We're going to be covering a little bit about interest rates and just trends in general.
Yeah, trends, interest rates, type of homes that are being built, all that fun stuff, right? So
stay tuned.
Yeah, we're gonna first start by talking about Canada in general, and then we're gonna see how it's gonna affect our Greater Edmonton real estate market. So for the consumers who are local to the Edmonton and Greater Edmonton area, make sure that you stay till the end, because in the end we're gonna break it down for our local market as well, right? All right, let's begin. Let's get started, right?
Without further ado.
Awesome.
We're going to have all the slides for you guys as well in the video, so you can refer to those as we go along, as we're discussing the slides as we go here.
Yeah, so there's too much data for me to kind of have it in my head, so you'll see me looking at the screen now and then, so just bear with me, but we'll paste everything for you on top of the screen, and you can follow along as well, right? So
and remember to leave your comments. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on these predictions.
Well, I'd love to hear what people are gonna predict for 2025.
This will be a good one.
Yeah, all right, let's get to it. All right, so let's start with the Canadian home sales. Now we're talking about the country, right? Not just the Edmonton market. So Rob, what do you see?
Well, when we're looking at this slide, you'll see that in the video there, we are going back a couple of years. So basically with the trends of what was happening in the last couple of years, we all know we just came out of COVID. So 2022 is where this graph starts. And that was a very dramatic change, to say the least, right across the country, probably right across the world, I would suggest. But we saw some huge numbers as far as activity in 2022, and this graph is broken down by seasons. So not by every month, but by seasons. And what do you think here? What are you seeing if you were just a general public? What do you see when you see this chart?
Yeah, so first of all, I see seasonality, right? Like I see it separated in months. So I see the summer markets have the higher bar chart, bar graph, and then it kind of slows down in the years like leading from September. But interestingly, now we do see the September 2024, October 2024 stats, and we see them on an uptick right now, right? What I see that the levels are picking back very, very close to the early 2022 levels.
That's right, yeah. So that's a very good point. So if we take a good close look, especially in September and October, those last two bar graphs there, if you take a look all the way across the whole trend that we see on this particular slide, there's nothing that beats it. Like we would have to go back several years to go back to this kind of activity. So we are basically at record levels of activity right across the whole country. And if you take a look at that, we're talking 55 something thousand sales right across the country. So next slide is more of an interesting slide as well. This one goes all the way back to what are we looking at? 1988.
1988, and we see till like that dip right after 2007.
Yeah.
When 2008 all the prices just drastically dropped, and then the another significant event.
2008 world financial crisis. Remember those?
Yeah.
Remember those times?
Yeah, and it didn't even drop as much as it dropped during COVID. So if you see right above 2020,
off the cliff,
it's just dropping way down, just literally crossing our screens at this point, and then suddenly we see that jump. Like the market picked up drastically.
So what is basically being told here, as far as what the story is that COVID happened. If everybody remembers that first shocking news of the COVID pandemic being announced across the world, suddenly everybody went into panic mode. Nobody knew what was happening. Everybody thought it was the end of the world. So that's why all of a sudden there was a huge drop off. But very quickly after that happened, people also realized that, hey, you know what? It's not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, as far as real estate goes, what's changed is that now people realize that we need a space that's more comfortable for our families, because we're going to be spending more time inside these homes.
Exactly.
So the amount of real estate activity, meaning the amount of sales, just increased dramatically. Even right in COVID, we were very, very busy.
Very, very busy. And just as in the end of 2023, early 2024, when the interest rate rise started happening, we do see that significant dip in the number of sales, as well as a lot of people, the affordability became an issue, and there was a sense of a concern in the market is if the interest rates are going to keep going up, what's going to happen. So that kind of put a pause on the sales as well. But as we'll cover in our next few slides about the interest rate, we can see the current level, which is this particular phase. We can see the uptick in the market back again.
Good point, Ankit. So even on this slide here, the second slide that we're seeing in 2022, I don't know if you were in the market at that time, but what we experienced is there was a tremendous amount of activity happening in the first half of 2022 because the interest rates were so low. But our inflation rates were very, very high, and they were increasing dramatically. So the Bank of Canada, and I believe the same thing was happening right across the world, including the States, Europe, everywhere, they were starting to ramp up and increasing those interest rates. So that was literally starting to put the brakes on the real estate market. As the interest rates were going up, the amount of activity we had in real estate sales was slowing down quite a bit. And so the amount of gains we had at the beginning of 2022 pretty much were taken right out by the end of 2022, because we had, I think, every single month of 2022, when it first started in April or March, we were having increases of interest rates, quarter point, half a point, quarter point. It was crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And
so that's what's happening there.
In the next slide, we talk about the active listings at those times. Previously, what we were referring to were the sales happening, right?
Yeah.
So
in Canada.
So similarly, active listings declined right after COVID, right during COVID, and then just shot back up in 2022, and again in the upward trend in 2024 with the interest rates now easing back up. So not only they have not hit the brake, they've actually accelerated, put the pedal on the metal, as you say, right? So we have definitely seen the active listings coming back up. I predict that it's going to go back to that 2007 era, where there were so many active listings and prices were jumping off the charts as well, right?
Well, what this slide specifically really illustrates nicely is what's happening with the listings versus the previous slide of what was happening with the
Sales,
activity, sales. So usually we have a situation where as the number of homes on the market, meaning the inventory levels, start to creep down, we tend to see more activity because people are starting to feel like they're under pressure to buy before the house that they're looking for is no longer there because somebody else snapped it up. And so that's what we're seeing here. It's a very interesting slide to look all the way back. That's where, you know, these future predictions always want to start by going back in time to see how it compares. And this is a very interesting slide. I like to see, especially that big dip in 2021, because remember, we were just coming out of COVID. We're kind of in the middle of COVID, and everybody wanted to buy another home that was more comfortable. And then we saw that big drop, and then the interest rates changed, and then all of a sudden we're starting to see more and more inventory again as the interest rates were going higher. So now the next slide is also very interesting. If you see that little bear on the side, what that means is that that's illustrating that the Canadian market is kind of in hibernation mode. We're kind of wait and see. Now, interestingly enough, we are going to be discussing more about interest rates coming in the next couple of slides. But just a couple days ago, we had the Bank of Canada announce another interest rate drop, the last one for the year.
Yes.
And it was huge.
Yep, half a point.
Half a point. Now, what's the Bank of Canada rate?
I think it's 3.45?
3.25. That's about as low as it's been in the last couple of years since the middle of COVID, basically. So we've seen a drop now since the peak of 5% down to 3.25.
Yeah.
So the Bank of Canada is seeing that, hey, we know we need to adjust our interest rates to spark that activity again.
Also, the months of inventory that you see in this slide also determines how you're going to negotiate in a market, right? So who has the more negotiating power? So if it's a buyer's market, the buyers have more negotiation power. If it's a seller's market, sellers have more negotiation power. If it's a balanced market, it's an open game essentially at that point, right? So what we can see over here is that just after the dip, right, now that we're creeping back up, that we are again going back into a seller's market as the level of inventory has gotten lower as compared to the pre-pandemic levels, in which it was essentially in buyer's market because there were definitely more listings for sale.
Exactly correct. You know what, Ankit, you couldn't have hit the nail better on the head. If you look at all the way back to 2013, 2011 even, we're talking all across Canada, inventory levels were at around that 6-7 month range, meaning that it would take, if we had no new listings, it would take 7 months for all that inventory to be basically purchased and there would be nothing left. If we take a look since 2013, so over 10 years, over the long term, we keep on seeing that the inventory levels are slowly but surely creeping down and down. What does that mean? We are really truly experiencing a housing crisis right across Canada where there just isn't enough homes for all the buyers out there. And as you can see with that sharp decrease, it's very much predicted to continue on that path.
Yeah, so sellers will definitely hold more negotiation power in this market as the level of inventory can keep up with the demand. So buyers beware, and you better, start preparing accordingly. And if you like something, jump on it. That's my suggestion.
Exactly. This is going to be a consistent message right throughout this whole video. Basically, the time is now. If you've been sitting on the fence, don't be like that bear. Don't be hibernating. Jump on the opportunities that are available in the marketplace right now. Here in the greater Edmonton area, we're seeing amazing opportunity, but the time is now, guys. The sooner you purchase, the sooner you get to benefit from all those price increases as the levels of inventory keeps on going down.
And you can see directly in proportion to our next slide, which is our home price index for all of Canada, right? Of course, there's no surprise just after the pandemic when the market went crazy, for the lack of a better term, we saw the price increase because there was so much demand, everything was selling super fast. So it touched almost $900,000 an average Canadian price. Now, it's coming back to a level where it is much more, for the lack of a better word, affordable. We are around about that $750,000 as an average price point in entire Canada. Now, this this data is a little bit skewed in accordance because it's taking all of Canada into consideration, and all of Canada is just not Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver. It's the smaller cities as well, different provinces. So there's different kind of demands and price points in different provinces, right? So
couldn't have said it better. You know, the thing that's very interesting about this chart is if you go all the way back to, looks like 2005, just the tremendous amount of price increases that the Canadian homeowners have seen. You know, it went from an average of about 225, 250,000 back in 2005 for the average home price across Canada, all the way up to today, we're somewhere around that 700 mark. Like, that is an incredible amount of growth in the last 20 years.
Yeah, and the slight dip around between the 2022 and 2023 is exactly the interest rates. And now that interest rates are going back down, we won't be surprised if we do the same thing next year. We'll see an uptick on the average price as well.
Prices will definitely go up. If you haven't learned about this now, prices are in direct relation, or are always adjusted in direct relation to the interest rates. So whenever the interest rates go down, prices go up. Whenever the interest rates go up, prices go down. It's just the way it goes for pretty much everything, but especially the real estate market.
So we're gonna kind of, for this particular segment, gonna tie it down to the Edmonton market, right? So as we did for Canada, we're gonna do sales for Edmonton market and what's happening here. Not surprised, you know, sharp uptick in the 2024 levels. Just very sharp uptick. We can see the home sales, and you know what? After the pandemic, this is the second highest increase that we are seeing in the number of sales in Edmonton.
Yeah, I really like this slide for the audience to kind of take a minute to digest what we're seeing here. This is the Edmonton and area home sales adjusted seasonally again, so we're talking not every month but every season. And if you go and look back from the current rates where we see this sharp increase going up, you can see that we're actually higher, other than that anomaly of the COVID era, we're higher levels of sales now than ever in history.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the exception of COVID. So we take COVID out of there, it's just an amazing amount of activity here in the greater Edmonton area.
Exactly. And you know, same thing like active listings, as we were talking about, that the inventory keeps dropping, demand keeps rising. We can clearly see there is a decline in the number of active listings moving into 2025. We can see actually not just a little bit of decline, it's sharp decline. So just as the previous slide, we saw a sharp uptick in the sales. Correspondingly, we see a sharp decline in the homes available to purchase in the Edmonton market, right?
Again, emphasizing that we are experiencing a national home crisis, and here in Edmonton, we're not immune to that. Now, having said that, the nice thing about Edmonton, we're proud to say that the city of Edmonton, the council has actually approved a very quick process to get your home permits. If you're looking to be a builder, if you're an investor, you want to move to Alberta, to the Edmonton area, and you want to build some homes, you are going to experience the quickest amount of, the shortest amount of time, to get your permits. It's streamlined, it's all online, very little red tape, they cut it all out, so much so that other cities from across Canada are coming to study our model to see how they can improve it as well. So you can see we are seeing lower and lower amounts of inventory right now, but we are also building records amount of homes. 2024, it was a record amount of homes that were built here in the Edmonton area, more so by a long shot than even Calgary, let alone the rest of Canada.
But still, the demand is so high, right?
Still pressure.
This chart clearly shows that we are heading into a seller's market. The price is gonna keep up, and we might not be able to meet the demand as compared to the supply.
Oh, there's no way we're gonna meet the demand, that's for sure. The point is, we're trying, the council is trying, but we're still unprecedented amount of interest in homes here in the Edmonton area. because we are the most affordable large city in Canada. So the message is clear. If you're considering purchasing, the sooner the better.
Yeah, and the next slide clearly just kind of confirms what I was just kind of talking about, is that we can clearly see that we are heading into a seller's market. So if you are a buyer and you were looking for a deal, maybe think twice, because you might not be able to negotiate too much.
Yeah, you don't have the same negotiating power that you did when the inventory levels were higher. By all means, there are still some deals out there. As a matter of fact, I would say any segment of the market here in the Greater Edmonton area is still a deal. It's a deal compared to even to our neighbors in the south in Calgary, let alone all of Canada. So it's a fantastic opportunity to still purchase before the prices really increase, because there's a lot of good data to show that the prices are expected to increase substantially over the next year or two. Just like this year alone, we've gone up, about 17% this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
on average.
On average. And then the next slide clearly indicates what Rob said. We can clearly see the average benchmark price increasing. Right after 2023, we can see that there's the uptick that's going towards 2024, sharp uptick. And our average price continues to creep up. Month after month, year after year, we are seeing an increase in the average price. So if you were on the fence and waiting for the right time, waiting in Edmonton market is going to cost you money.
Big time.
It's an opportunity cost. Frankly, if you just got qualified, your budget is like 400,000, 500,000, you wait longer, you'll end up paying 50, 40,000 more for the same home in the coming year, in just a matter of months. So if you're a buyer trying to jump in the market, right, and make sure that's what you call a deal, is when you read the data right, you buy it at a fair market value, and you bet on the forecast. That's how you win, right?
Good point Ankit makes. Basically what we're trying to say is, if you're just looking to get into the market for the first time, and you are looking to purchase, I don't know, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, and you're thinking it's going to be a home that's going to be 500,000, but you can't afford that. You can't qualify for that. You don't have the down payment. You know what? It's better off to just hold back and buy something, get into the market, even if it's not what you want right now. But if you get into something that's a little bit less than what you're really hoping to get, at least you're in the market, because every segment of the market is going to increase over time. Then when you are ready to finally make that bigger move, you're not going to have to save up even more to make up for the difference that these home prices have been increasing.
Exactly. So that's where we are with the home price index, the sales activity, and the number of inventory in the market for Canada and Edmonton, right? All right, so what are we gonna do? Next segment, we are gonna talk about everyone's favorite, the interest rates.
Perfect. And on that note, let's just take a quick moment to study the next couple of slides, and we'll join you in just a second. Everyone's favorite topic, interest rates, Ankit. What are we looking at over here?
Everything. So what we're gonna talk about is what's predicted, number one, what happened in the past, and how it's going to affect our Canadian market and the Edmonton market, right? So, all right, so data's on your screen. We're gonna talk about it. So
let's dissect this.
Let's dissect this. So just after 2022, because the market went really upwards right after the pandemic, to stop that, the Bank of Canada increased their interest rate, and then we can see it every single month. It was almost every single month it kept.
2022, you can see the sharp interest rate hikes. It's crazy.
Right.
That's why our market took, basically we were pumping the brakes, slowing down the real estate market.
Exactly. So what happened, Rob? Like, what changed?
2022. We know what happened there. The inflation was running away, so Bank of Canada was increasing interest rates like crazy. 2023, they continued on that same trajectory. 2024, this year, things were kind of flat. If you can see, it was flattened right off. And then towards the end of 2024 and moving to 2025, 26, 27, we flattened off at 2024. What happened? Our neighbors to the south, they had a big election and they voted in a new president.
That's right.
So we've got that, plus the actual inflation rate has slowed down and it is now at the target that the Bank of Canada likes to see at around 2% inflation rate. So that's part and partial. We've got both of those. But moving forward, going into 2025, 26, 27, the predictions are we're going to still continue to see those interest rates slide downwards and probably level off around that 2.5%, 3% range, which is very sustainable and kind of the norm of what we're used to. So
yeah, and just to give the buyers a perspective, like we know that the prices increase when the interest rate goes down, right? So if you end with the level of inventory already down, that's going to just fuel the fire. So one of the things that the buyers can do is to buy something at today's prices, and you can always refinance for a lower interest rate later, right?
Good point, good point. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's exactly what smart money does. You see the opportunity, you jump at it, you act on it, you buy the properties at today's prices, lock in for a short term, 1 year, 2 years at most, and then refinance later at a lower interest rate. So that way you win-win both ways. Exactly. What do we got for the next slide here?
So down payment, right? Like everything ties together: interest rate, down payment, and the purchase price, right? So the next graph basically shows what is the minimum down payment that the general buyer in the market had versus the purchase price, right? So till the 1 million, it was usually people tend to go around that 5%, and then as they move from 500,000 to the million, they go to the 10%. And then, of course, after $1 million, you really had to 1.5 million.
1 million.
1 million, you had to put 20% down, right? But something's changed.
Something's changed. So in the new year, we're recording this in December 2024. In the new year, the Bank of Canada has changed the amount of down payment to 5% all the way up to 1.5 million. So now you don't have to save up all that 20% to buy a nice home. You know, like you can in the Edmonton area, you can buy a really nice home for 1 million.
Mansion.
But it's like Bank of Canada is doing this for all across the whole country. So in Toronto and Vancouver, it's just a starter home at 1 million. So put, you know, all those people that can't afford a nice home in Toronto, Vancouver, move here to Edmonton, to Alberta. We've got some wonderful news for you. You're gonna live like a king over here for that price.
That's right. And you know, for the same thing, like we keep talking about inventory and why it's so important, right? So we're gonna compare the entire inventory in different provinces and see which kind of the market is much more hot in terms of the number of homes available for sale, right? So this will give you a good idea of what's basically happening in entire Canada. So the slides right there for you. So let's talk about Alberta right there, and then we can see that Alberta and Manitoba have the lowest level of inventory in the entire Canadian market.
Yeah, and just to describe this slide for the audience here, what we're looking at is on the left-hand side, those are the numbers of months of inventory, as in how long it would take for the market to absorb all of the listings that are currently available if there was no new listings being introduced to the market. So if you take a look, like Ankit was saying, if you look at Alberta and Manitoba, we're at less than 2 months, just so that the audience knows. An average balanced market here in the Edmonton area and in Alberta is around 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
We are at a very extreme seller's market conditions here.
Yeah.
Especially if you compare to what's happening with the rest of Canada. They're
Exactly.
more in the balanced area than we are.
Yeah, the area that we know that the price point is generally higher, we can see that the month of inventory is touching the normal levels, right? It's still not at the level that we would like it to be for a balanced market, but it's still on the upward direction. But the trend is totally opposite for Alberta and Manitoba. We're in the downward, the downward trend.
Yeah.
So inventory. You'll see this theme entire video because it affects everything.
It does. And you know what? If you take a look at this slide again, real quick, just a snapshot. if you look at Alberta and Manitoba versus, say, the provinces that really all we ever hear about in the news is Ontario and BC. Ontario doubles the amount of inventory they have. They have 4 months. But look at BC, 6 months of inventory. And then of course there is the maritime provinces that have more. But so just goes to show you all those people, the smart people that are making those moves, they're moving to places where it's more affordable, like Alberta. Alberta is the only one that still doesn't have a provincial tax. That's a win-win. So come join us over here and you can enjoy a better quality of life for a lot less.
Exactly.
Next slide.
Yeah, so we talk about the sales activity. So this slide basically tells what's happened in 2024 and what's predicted in 2025.
Right.
Now, I want the viewers to understand this is a conservative figure.
That's
right? Because when we talk about stats, we do tend to go a little conservative, right?
Very conservative.
So you might see these slides and see, hey, that's not true, but you kind of have to have that variance in your head when we're discussing about these stats, right? So let's do Canada first, right? So sales activity. So we sold close to 470,000 homes, which was 5.2% higher than 2023. So that's what happened in 2024. We're in December, so it's safe to say that number is not going to change much, right? Now, in 2025, it's predicted for entire Canada that that's going to shift by 6.6%, and we're going to be very close to 500,000 homes sold in 2025. That's a significant number. Like, it might seem small, but that's total number of sales that's going to happen.
And you know what? Very good point. Again, we're talking inventory. Inventory across Canada is down and it's trending down.
Yeah.
Yet, the prediction is that the amount of sales are predicted to go up. In 2024, we had a 5% higher amount of activity level sales over 23. In 2025, it's expected that we're going to have another 6.6% higher amount of sales over this year. So tremendous amount of buyers are in the market buying. There's a lot of new to Canada residents. There is a lot of migration in North America. So we will see a tremendous amount of pressure on buyers. Buyers are sometimes frustrated with the amount of multiple offers we're seeing. I am positive we're going to see a lot more of that coming in 2025.
Yeah, and very good example, if you concentrate on this chart on Alberta, we saw an increase of 8.4% in our activity as compared to 2023, which is leading down to, again, the inventory being very less. It's predicted to still increase by about 3%, but again, that's conservative. I'm pretty sure, Rob, you feel that the actual number is going to be way higher, right?
Yeah, these are all analysts that try to be as conservative as possible. They're saying 2.7% increase in 2025, which, by the way, is still pretty healthy. Now, I would say you can expect that number to be higher. However, the challenge will be the inventory. Again, the inventory, if there aren't any houses to sell, there aren't any buyers that can buy those houses. So maybe 2.7-3% is realistic, but it's still a high amount of activity, because in 2024 we had 8.5% more homes sold in Alberta than 2023. In 2023 we had more homes sold than in 2022, so it's still continuing on that upward trajectory of more activity.
Something very interesting for the BC and the Ontario market that this data suggests is that there's going to be an uptick in the demand and the number of homes sold in those areas as well. So if you were planning to invest in those provinces, maybe right now is a good time, because the market is going to get hotter and then the prices will eventually rise whenever the demand increases, right?
And again, interest rates just were announced to just dropped, so great opportunity to buy.
Great opportunity to buy altogether, right? So
next
forecast for sales activity. So that's basically what we just talked about in numbers is depicted in a bar graph here.
That's right.
You can clearly see that the pandemic time just went right up there, and again everything is going into the upward trajectory as well, and we're gonna hit that level again. Pretty sure. We're not gonna spend too much time here because we just talked about numbers, and then we're just gonna
the quick note here on this slide is just that if we go way back to 1980, the amount of sales has continued to increase time over time over time, and it's just predicted to continue to go in that trajectory. We're just expected to have more and more people move to Canada, move to and people that want to buy homes.
Yeah, it's the Canadian dream, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Next step.
So what's the Alberta
residential sales activity. There we go.
There we go, right?
This is an interesting slide.
So we are currently at levels that we have never seen in the history of Alberta if we go back till 1980.
That's right.
We have the highest amount of sales activity ever recorded and predicted, which is going to be higher than today's level as well. So Alberta, buckle up. Irrespective where you are, Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer, wherever you are in Alberta, there's going to be an uptick in the market.
That's right. And sellers, if you're thinking about making a move and selling your home, if you're thinking about staying in Alberta and just changing your home, whether you're increasing in size or you're downsizing, the sooner the better, because right now you're going to have a lot of buyers competing for your home, as well as that'll give you an opportunity to still have some choice in the market when you make that move.
So what it's going to do for prices. So that's the next slide. We're going to talk about,
price forecast. Everybody wants to know about
everybody
this.
wants to know. I hope it was worth waiting till this point. So Canada, first of all, as we discussed, we're in that $700,000 range, 713 to be specific, right?
2025
For
increase
2025,
again.
Increase by
Look at that.
4.4%.
4.4%.
Now,
Crazy.
if you look at the chart again, one of the highest increase in prices that happened in 2024 happened in the Alberta market, 8.6%, and it's expected to rise by another 7% in 2025. Again, conservative figure, I think it's going to be around a double digit, maybe 10, 11%, something like that. And then our average price point is going to be way past the $520,000 mark. So Alberta is getting expensive, and things are getting sold faster.
Expensive relatively speaking. Like we're still comparing prices here to the rest of Canada, which is, geez, if you look at British Columbia, we're barely half.
Yeah.
Ontario, we're just a little bit over half. And so we're kind of averaging out. But the interesting thing is Alberta still has the Alberta advantage. We don't have any PST.
Yeah.
Our energy costs are very, very low here. And you know what? We have some fantastic, great job opportunities here. And not just in the energy sector. We have a very highly thriving technical sector, very thriving medical sector, teaching. So there's a lot of good opportunity for some good jobs here in Alberta.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing you'll notice, the prediction for 2025, all of them are positive, right? In terms of
right
prices.
across the country.
Right across the country. So no matter where you are, no matter where you're buying, selling, or investing, it's going to be an upward increase in the price of the home. Mm-hmm. So one thing, if you can take away, and if you're waiting for like a bubble to burst or something specific, you're just gonna be priced out of the market. If you're right at the very edge of your affordability, buy right now whatever you can afford, because maybe that house might not be affordable for you next year.
Right, you are again. You know what? That's the name of the game. This whole video is basically going to be repeating the same message over and over again. Buy now, don't wait. Do whatever you have to do. If you're in a position where maybe you're just getting qualified with your mortgage broker, and the mortgage broker is looking at your overall picture, maybe you have a little bit of debt load. Maybe there's a way you can get rid of it. Maybe you have a car payment. Maybe you can do without your expensive car. You know what? Get rid of the car. Get in a position where you can get yourself pre-approved for a nice mortgage. Buy the home, and then you can always buy the car again. It's actually going to be easier for you to qualify for the car when you have a mortgage on your credit bureau.
Exactly. Yeah.
Win-win.
And
next slide.
Next slide talks about, again, the same thing that we just discussed in a bar graph, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a very clear representation of the level of price that we are in right now. Sales price, it is the highest it's ever been. So it's houses in Canada has been most expensive it's ever been history if we go back till 1980.
All the way back to 1980. And if you take a look at all the way back to 1980, you don't see, historically speaking, where prices have trended downwards for several years in a row. That just doesn't happen. If anything, it follows the amount of population growth here in Canada. And we are seeing unprecedented amounts of high population growth that's expected to grow even faster, at a faster pace, because Canada is viewed in the world as a stable nation where we have low crime rates, we have a good quality of life, and people want to live here. So, you know what?
No matter what the mainstream media tells you.
That's right. Don't worry about mainstream media. Listen to yourself, to your gut, and go with that. But really, the name of the game is buy now if you can. Put yourself into a position. The sooner you can buy, the sooner you will end up basically saving yourself a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, same thing for the next slide. It specifically concentrates on Alberta, where we are. So yeah, it's never been more expensive. So if you didn't buy a home last year, you're gonna end up paying more. In 2024, you ended up paying more, and you were gonna end up paying even more in 2025. But as Rob said many times, it's still one of the most affordable provinces. It is still the cheapest to acquire a home in terms of closing cost as well. So it's still a worthy investment for a lot of people here in Alberta, right?
Exactly. And you know what? One thing that I wanted to make a quick note on this chart is, remember, we're talking all of Alberta. And the biggest increases, the most expensive real estate we have is in Calgary, and then followed by the Edmonton area. However, all around Calgary, all around Edmonton, we have a number of smaller communities, smaller cities, smaller towns that are within 15 minutes drive that are significantly lower priced.
Yeah.
Where, you know what, instead of driving for 2-3 hours in Greater Toronto area or Vancouver, you come to the Edmonton area. If that's still too expensive, just go outside of Edmonton by 15 minutes and you can enjoy prices by $100,000-$200,000 less for a similar product than right here in Edmonton. So,
and a bigger lot size.
Bigger lot size, smaller town, 15-minute commute, no problem at all.
Yeah. So that basically concludes this segment in which we talked about the price and the number of homes that are going to be sold, right? We're going to touch base on the current socio-economic scenario that's going on with Canadian home ownership. We're going to share some interesting stats, what the government has plans for the future, where are the builders going towards, which type of consumers that they are targeting, and what kind of homes are being built. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking to invest, buy, sell, whatever, you can choose the kind of product depending upon that as well, right? So
especially for investors, this is good information. If you guys are interested at all in the types of homes that are being forecast that are going to be built, this is the section you want to hear.
Yeah, so owning a home is one of the Canadian dream, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to let you read the stats. So what is the percentage trend in terms of home ownership for Canadians right now?
So, this chart goes way back, all the way to 1971. So you can see how way back in 1971, only about 60% of the adult population owned a home in Canada. And then it slowly kind of stuck around there all the way up to the mid-1990s, where it started to trend upwards. By 2001, it only went up by 5% to 65%. And then in 2011, another 10 years later, 69%. Our highest percentage of home ownership was in actually 2011. Now, unfortunately, we're starting to see a little bit of a slide. So 2016 went down by a couple percent. We're down to just under 68%. And then 2021 was the last stat here, down by another couple of percent, down to 66.
So as the affordability went down, prices went up, interest rates started rising, we can see the percentage of homeowners also declining. That means that there are more people renting now as they were back in 2016, 2011 and 2006, right? So there are more people who are looking for rentals right now. So if you're wondering what's the rental market scenario in Canada, it's hot. there are more people who are looking to rent these days than people who are looking to buy homes.
Exactly. So for all of our investor audience, this is important data for you to absorb here. We're basically seeing that less and less people are able to afford a home. This means everybody needs a home. Everybody needs a roof over your head. This means they will be forced to rent for longer. Therefore, as an investor, you can capitalize on this. Invest, build, buy as many properties as you can. The ones that most people want are the typical 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom type of homes, so that they can have a nice, comfortable home for their family.
Exactly.
What's the next slide?
So, as we talked about renting, and the type of consumers that are available in the market, we see the shift. Same way, the builders and people who are developing these new homes see that shift. So they will customize their product.
That's right.
According to what's the demand, what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
So we're gonna spend some time on this chart, right?
This is an interesting chart.
And we're gonna try to explain it the best we can, right? So the red bars basically shows the semi-detached properties, right? And sorry, not the semi, it's the apartment rent.
Yeah, exactly.
So we see the most amount of homes being built are basically apartments for rent. These are not condo apartments to purchase for an individual. These are specifically built to rent.
Correct. And remember, we're talking Canadian from right across Canada. This changes a little bit province to province. But in average, this is the trend. The trend is there is more and more apartment-style condos being built for purchase, which is that purple section just below the red section. And of course, the highest amount is the actual apartment-style rental units.
Yeah, and as we are growing vertically here, mostly everywhere in Canada, so the next most built property type is the apartment condos, right? So as we say, there's a difference between apartment rentals and then apartment condos in which the owners themselves, the buyers themselves live in, right? Followed by townhomes, these row condo townhomes. So these are condominium complexes with 4 or 5 houses together sharing a common wall, 3 or more sharing a common wall. So as the land size is decreasing, the builders are building more and more homes right next to each other so that we can meet the growing demand as well, right?
Exactly, and that's again followed by the row townhome style rental properties. Correct. Specifically being built. So they both go hand in hand. Now what's interesting is you can't even see this, but if the audience can just take a quick look at the very left side of your slide at the bottom, it says single. Single, what that means is a single home on the lot by itself, like a regular detached single family home. There's a little teeny weeny dark blue line that's stuck in between the green and the purple, and it's been it's
between the green and the yellow.
It's between green and yellow, and it's been getting smaller and smaller. So there's less and less of those types of homes, unfortunately.
So builders are not building detached single-family homes as much as compared to townhouses, condominium complexes, apartment buildings, and even in townhouses. There are townhouses which are condo, and then there are row townhouses which are going to be what you call single family or freehold in some provinces, which don't have a condo fees. So those are the yellow bars. So these are the townhouses without any condo fees, and then the green ones are the townhouses with condo fees, right? Followed by half duplexes, right? So that
semi is a half
duplexes. So semi-detached semi homes are very much in demand all over Canada. And then we have our specifically made rental townhouses and row homes, right? So again, large segment of the market, builders are opting to build specifically for consumers who are looking to rent.
And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, it's more cost effective to build more density on a smaller lot. So if you can build a high rise on a lot and have 20, 30, 40, 100 units in one high rise on the same size lot, as a single family detached home, just imagine how much more profitable that is for the builder, how much more profitable it is for the cities that are charging these taxes, because property taxes are being charged per unit, and it just goes on and on. It's also more cost effective for building utilities to service all of these properties. So instead of having to run several hundred kilometers or feet of power lines and sewer lines and water lines, it's all right there, very dense, very short runs within a small amount of lots. So that's why that's the trend, right?
Very, very similar story when we talk about locally in the Edmonton housing market. We see maximum amount of homes, new constructions being built, which are the apartment for rents. So rental apartments followed by apartment.
That's that red chart at the top.
Red chart at the top, followed by the apartment condos, right? And then over there we do see a significant rise in the townhouse condominium complexes. And then again, a very significant good level of the townhouses which are non-condo and half duplexes being built in the Edmonton market. But the similar story, hardly you can find the line for a detached single home being built, let alone for all those consumers who are looking to downsize, looking for a bungalow, looking for like a 2-story detached home with a big backyard for their pets. That product is keeping on declining in the Edmonton market. So if you are a consumer planning to buy in Edmonton and you find a detached single property home, buy it. Because what's going to happen, very few new constructions are going to be being built. Your house is going to be in demand and the prices are going to go up.
Yep, couldn't have said it better. Ankit, you nailed it. It's like the same trend as we saw across the whole country. However, you'll notice that line of single-family detached homes, it's up higher on the bar chart, which means that here in the Edmonton area, as compared to Canada, we are building way more of these single-family homes than across the average of the rest of Canada. So that's still another positive. If you are interested in owning your own lot, owning a home that's not attached, come to Edmonton. If you're thinking about, okay, well, I'm okay with a duplex, we have lots of those products, lots of townhomes, and those are going to be more affordable and more abundant here in the Edmonton area than across Canada.
Yeah, and our average price point for a detached single-family home is just under $550,000.
Which is how much compared to Ontario?
Oh my God, which is like half?
Exactly.
Right?
You can own a single-family detached home here in the Edmonton area for the price of a duplex or a row home in Ontario or BC.
Exactly. So we're going to sum it all up. Basically what's happening in Canada needs about 3.5 million houses by 2030, to restore the affordability of 20 years ago. Right?
Yeah, and this slide that we're discussing here is the CMHC estimates of what Canada needs to make it as affordable as it was 20 years ago by 2023, which is obviously, that's a pipe dream. There's no way that Canada can do that. We'll be lucky to maybe build a fraction, I'd say a tenth.
Yeah, so, we can see the government trying, we can see new programs, specifically in Alberta, with the MLI Select program. We'll make a separate video for that for sure.
Yeah.
There's so much the government is doing, but the gap is too high right now. What we can predict right now is that the demand is there. The housing shortage is there. It's going to affect affordability. More and more people are going to rent. We'll see the home ownership decline a little bit, as well as, as compared to 2011, 2006 and all those eras. But yeah, it's where we are at. Expect new homes to keep on building. So if you're a tradesperson, if you're somebody in that industry, you'll have work for a very, very long time.
Come to Alberta. You'll get a job on the spot.
On the spot, right? So yeah, that's where we're at. That's where Canada is at. That's where Edmonton and Alberta is at. We'd love to know what you think about.
Leave us the comments.
What your predictions are, or what your biggest takeaway is. I know it's longer videos. Thank you so much for staying in the end, but I hope this all helps. And if you have any questions, yeah, of course, just put it on the comments. We'll answer the questions right there so everybody can read it and get more value out of it, right?
Yeah, thank you very much for summing that up, Ankit. Also, just a quick note for all the viewers. We here at RJ Homes, we service the whole greater Edmonton area. If you have any questions whatsoever, whether it's Edmonton or any of the smaller communities around Edmonton, even the cities like Sherwood Park or Fort Saskatchewan or St. Albert and all the other smaller communities, we service the whole greater Edmonton area. We'd be happy to sit down and answer any questions you may have. We can be available by email, by just a quick call. Maybe we can even jump on a Zoom call with you. And until the next time, we look forward to your comments and hopefully you appreciate the information we shared here with you today.
Till the next time, guys.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Bye.